Hey everybody, welcome to Murder Moose. Ow! I'm making werewolf noises because Bryan is here. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. So.
It's a great solid intro, man.
I know, dude. This thing is fucking. This thing is ADHD. This podcast is ADHD. I'm ADHD. Josh isn't here this week. So I have to be double ADHD because Josh isn't here. But I did bring. Man, you're basically the third host of this podcast at this point, Bryan. But Bryan from Dead in Santa Carla, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, buddy. It's always a good time coming on talking horror with you, and yeah. So this is starting. It's starting to become a small relationship. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just because I send you dick pics all the time doesn't mean that.
That's the small.
What it does mean? Oh, don't call it small.
Okay, it's cute. Is that better?
That's better. I put a sweater on it on purpose, Bryan. It was cold. No. We are part of the Slash and Cast Podcast Network. Of course, Dead in Santa Carla. I almost called you Bread in Santa Carla.
Bread in Santa Carla.
Bread in Santa Carla. When you want carbs, go to Bread in Santa Carla. Dun, dun, dun. I'm sporting the Bryan shirt today.
Oh, yeah.
The
horror
you are. It's
awesome.
For everyone because it's awesome. And... yeah, so Josh couldn't make it this week, so we put off talking about. We were going to talk about the Final Girls, which you and Andy did at one point, right?
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Which is another. It's like we've talked about PG-13 horror on this podcast before, and you guys have a couple times. I mean, you guys just did Poltergeist, and you're going to be doing Poltergeist 2 here pretty soon.
Yeah, that's part of the sequel September 2, The Resurrection.
The Resurrection.
I got to work on that logo tonight, actually, after this. So.
I mean, you got some inspiration from Jakob's wife, which we're going to end up talking about, which is you dropped the bomb on my dumbass, which I didn't even realize that CM Punk was in this movie because this was directed by Travis Stevens, who directed The Girl on the Third Floor, which is fucking ride, man.
It's a cool movie. I enjoy it. I don't think it's great, but it's pretty damn cool. But CM Punk plays a piece of shit in that movie.
Oh, dude, you're like okay, I've said it before, I'll say it again. Midsommar would be way higher up on my movie list of like awesome movies if every single fucking character in that movie didn't fucking suck.
Yeah, it's full of shitty people.
It's like, man, this movie's beautiful. Like it's
gorgeous.
It does something that you watch more horror than I do probably, or just as much. How often do you see a horror movie completely set like in bright, sunny, happy times? It's like that movie.
Like never. And that's what's so great about that movie. It's funny because I don't enjoy that movie that much, but I do recognize the greatness in that movie. Yeah. And a part of that is that juxtaposition that you experience when you're watching it because of how bright and gorgeous and pretty everything is, and then you have these horrible things happening and these horrible fucking characters, and there's that, and that it's just that's one of the good things about that movie. Ari Aster is pretty, honestly, he's pretty brilliant. He really is.
The man can make a movie. That opening sequence of Midsommar is. God. One of the most horrifying, kid you not, horrifying. It reminds me of things like Sixth Sense and stuff like that, where it's not overly like gory or anything like that, but it's just like
super dark and unsettling.
Yeah.
I know you've seen your sequence. You're talking about the trip through the house with the duct tape and Oh my god, that girl duct taped the fucking hose to her face, bro.
Yeah,
that was a commitment right there. Like, holy shit!
Yeah,
it's committed to that decision. It's dark shit. It's dark shit,
dude. It's dark, and it's one of those things where you go, how do you top knocking the head off of a small like teenage girl that everyone watching thinks is a main character? This, I kid you not. This is me in the theater, and my wife could attest to this. When that happened in fucking Hereditary, this was me.
I know, right?
My jaw is literally open,
Yeah.
and I wasn't. You're doing a dark theater. You're not doing it because you're getting an effect out of it. Like
It's
you're like
made
trying
for
to get
great memes though, because
Yeah.
you have those memes now where it's like my fall plans, and then you got the picture of the kid, and then you got the Delta variant, and it's the fucking the
pole.
fucking pole.
and you're like, oh, that's so
like-
fucked up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Every every
been
time
long
that
enough.
every time that comes up to something, it's just like, dude. We don't try to do it, but like this, we have spoiled the shit out of some movies, and we'll try to be careful if our dumbasses remember today. But but it's
you know, in hindsight, we probably shouldn't have done what we did before.
Probably not.
It'll be fine.
But it's okay. It'll be fun. What are you doing, newbie? Yeah. So shit, I don't even know where we're going with that. We bounced so fucking far all over the place, but yeah,
That's
it's
okay. That's okay.
We were talking about weird horror and like what Girl on the Third Floor was, and yeah, you told me that CM Punk plays one of the cops at the end of this movie, and I'm like, fuck, I did not even realize, because he has that mustache on, and he looks real skinny in this movie. Like
he's definitely slimmed down.
Yeah.
Which he was never a big fucking yoked out fucking dude. You know, I mean, he was never like John Cena big or anything like that.
Yeah,
but
he wanted to fight littler guys in UFC.
Yeah, he's kind of
not
like
huge.
he's built like the Adam Cole. You know, not a small guy by any means. But yeah, he definitely looks a lot more slim. But he's still in good shape because he's shirtless in Girl on the Third Floor. In a few scenes in here, and he's still in really good shape. So, but he's rocking a great mustache.
Oh,
Like
dude, that must.
It's that typical cop mustache.
It's the okay. We need a cop, and we need him to look like a cop. Okay, we're gonna give him this mustache.
I wonder if you think it was his? You think he grew that out for the role?
Probably not, man. I don't like that.
don't know,
that
man.
mustache was way too perfect. Like
It's
it was
a good-looking mustache.
too good to be true. You talk about too good to be true. That mustache was like, yeah, no way. There's no way. But yeah, we Bryan and I are both AEW fans, and CM Punk is coming back on Sunday to wrestle.
Yeah,
So we're
I'm
both
ready.
we're excited. By ready, he means erect. He has an erect penis. And
It's
he's
been
ready.
like that since that Friday night. Yeah, I've passed out 17 times. It's been horrible.
And it wasn't Barbara Crampton this time.
No,
giving it to no, not this time. Fuck. I am like all over the place already.
Yeah, a little bit. A little bit.
I
That's
mean,
okay, though.
this is. So I'm going to say this at the beginning of the show because I never fucking remember. So I was going to say, if you do enjoy a show, please make sure you go out and give us a 5-star review. It was funny after Michelle on Apocalypse in Review kept begging. I gave her a snarky review, and they were talking. She was talking about it in their new episode.
Oh, that's funny.
And I was like, okay, Michelle, you win. Here's your review at 5 stars.
That's hilarious. I need to do that. I need to go do that.
Man,
I try to go do that to most of my friends' podcasts. So,
yeah, I try to too. It's that ADHD brain of mine. I walk away after listening to a podcast, and then I'm like, nope, don't think a thing about it. Even not saying that the movie's bad or whatever, but yeah. So let's talk about what we've been watching before we really go into this, because I know we're not going to review it, but you just went and saw the new Candyman.
I did.
How many times did you go see it, Bryan?
I've seen it twice now.
Yes, I just bust your balls a little bit, but
because not because I was in love with it. That's not why. But I do like it. I watched it twice because I was gonna do a quick bite for the YouTube channel. And do a quick spoiler-free review. I don't think I'm gonna do that anymore. Not because of any hatred towards the movie or anything like that, but I just I've kind of lost the motivation, honestly.
Yeah.
But I did enjoy it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get any spoilery or anything like that.
Because I haven't seen it
enjoy
either.
it.
Yeah.
I do have some complaints though. Not many, but I have been enjoying laughing at some people who really, really love the movie.
Yeah. Dude.
And I'm glad if you really, really love the movie, but I'm sorry, man. If you give Candyman, the newest one, a 10 out of 10, that's a bit excessive.
Dude,
I mean, it's not perfect, guys. It's okay for you to like a movie that's not. Fuck. How many movies do I love, Rod, that are shit?
I mean,
a lot.
I think
okay.
most horror fans are probably, if you're going on a like 1 out of 10, like if you're going on a like man on the street things and you find non-horror movies, most people are gonna like the movies that we love, right?
No.
So it's like, and
I love Prom Night too. That is not Shawshank, okay?
No, it's not.
It's not a good movie. It's not.
Yeah.
But it's my kind of bad. Now, Candyman is not near a bad movie. It's a good movie. It's a very good movie. It's not amazing. It's not perfect. It's flawed. Okay, so I see people like, 10 out of 10, and I'm just like, dude, calm down.
Yeah,
calm the fuck down.
I am excited though because the director was the first female black director to have a #1 at the box office movie, which is fucking awesome.
It's amazing. It's also sad, but it's amazing, and I'm proud as hell of Nia DaCosta, because that's one of the strengths of the movie is the direction, and Nia's talented as hell, and I can't wait to see what she does next. I really can.
Yeah.
But
it's
a shame that it took to 2021 for that to happen. But I'm glad it did.
Dude, I mean, we're getting to the point where things like you can't ignore, black filmmakers because I mean Jordan Peele's what he's doing is just out there. I mean, winning Oscar nominations for doing what he does, and I think that the country's like never-ending adventure into discovering that its racist uncle is more racist than they thought. It's kind of, you wonder if that is going to help in the long run of letting these directors, come out and do their stuff. I mean, again, Jordan Peele could do whatever the fuck he wants now, right? And because he produced Candyman, right?
His production company produced it, and I think he has a co-writing credit as well. I think so. But
yeah, that could be anything though, like, right?
Yeah, he could have been like, I want this character's name to be, Billy Bob or some shit, what I mean? Whatever random name. I mean, that could have been anything. I tend to think that he didn't have quite as much to do with the actual making of the film as what some people want to credit him for. Because but the good news is I've only seen the discredit towards Nia DaCosta coming from the least important sources, and that being Twitter.
Exactly.
I mean, because I read like all the reviews on Rotten Tomatoes shortly after, and I was very proud to see so many of the great reviews not even mentioning Jordan Peele's name and talking and giving lots of credit to Nia DaCosta, because she earns it, she deserves it. But all the fucking douchebags that hang out on Twitter, I'm one of them. I'm a douche, so I'm allowed to call you guys douchebag because I'm one of them. But all those douchebags are, they keep wanting to say, that Jordan Peele probably actually did this and that, discrediting Nia DaCosta's work. Guess what, y'all? You don't fucking matter anyway. So,
what are you talking about, Bryan? Steven Spielberg directed Poltergeist.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny because everything I read talks about how very little Spielberg was actually on set because he was fucking making a movie. Like, I think he was making Temple of Doom.
Yeah,
I want to say that's what he was working on.
And you're disregarding the man who has made arguably one of the most important horror movies of all time and acting like he couldn't. Poltergeist.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. The guy that made Chainsaw. Okay, you're
Yeah.
gonna try and tell me that he can't direct Poltergeist? Okay, bull fucking shit.
No. let's be fair. Let's be fair, Brian. He directed Chainsaw 2, which is the important measurement
It's the
here. But Dude, I will never. You know, it's funny because I saw those movies way later in my life than a lot of people, and I still think Texas 2 is way more fun. And
it's a way more fun movie. Is
Yeah,
it as good? Probably not. I love it.
But yeah,
it's my go-to chainsaw film.
Oh yeah,
It's my go-to chainsaw film.
And
to be honest with you, after that, I would actually watch the remake before watch Chainsaw 1. Now, I know the remake's not as good a movie, but to me, it's a more enjoyable watch.
I saw Roger and them were over a 3B video or were reviewing that, and I was like, when he's like, we're recording this tonight, I'm like, you better bring up that it's really a home invasion movie and Leatherface is the real victim.
Is the victim, bro, for sure.
I watched the movie and I'm like,
how stressed out he is when he's sitting down there after that third kid. But he's just like, what the fuck is that? All I'm trying to do is make dinner. Like, what the fuck? I got these random people running in my house.
And let's be honest, who didn't want to chainsaw that motherfucker in a wheelchair?
Dude,
who didn't want to chainsaw him?
Irritating. God, he's so irritating. I can't even remember his name. What's his name?
I don't know.
But his uncle is a psycho too because he shows up in part 2.
Yeah,
Dennis Hopper, man, he's crazy as shit.
I love Dennis Hopper in that movie, man.
Franklin, that was his name. That came out of nowhere.
Dennis Hopper does, like, when he goes on full on crazy in movies, it is like it's genius.
It's beautiful to watch. It's as fun to watch as it is to watch Nick Cage go fucking crazy. Which, by the way, I'll bring this up before we get too far. I finally watched Willy's Wonderland.
Did you enjoy it?
Oh, hell yes. I love that movie. It's so cool.
It's so, like, I think Josh had more issues with filmmaking of that movie, but man, I sat there and I can enjoy shitty stuff but like that movie is well made, and like Nicolas Cage is the worst part of that movie, and I actually kind of think it might have been more on purpose than people give it credit for. The teenage characters of that movie are all fucking terrible. I kind of think that was a very like 80s homage to kind of like slashers and stuff in the 80s, but that movie's tons of fun, man. Like,
it's a blast. You know what? I've got to find out. I haven't watched any special features or any making of or anything regarding that movie, but something tells me that Nick Cage chose not to speak.
Probably.
And he probably had dialogue, but told the director or whatever, you know what? I think it'd be better if I just didn't say a word. And the director was like, fuck it. Okay. So they just took out all the dialogue and just changed the movie on the fly. Because that kind of seems like something that Nick Cage would do. Just like a choice. Like, you know what? I think this would be better if I just didn't say a word the whole time. But it's so funny, but shit, because I loved it. He kept cleaning. Like,
he was like,
stopped cleaning.
Yeah.
After the first one started shit with me.
Are you fucking kidding me? I mean, it's like you're sitting here cleaning a shithole in a town that obviously set up a trap to put you here, and then lock you in with demonic fucking like robots, mechanical furries. I mean, come on, man. It's I
just think it'd be funny to find out that he actually had lots of lines, and Nick Cage was just like, "Nope, I ain't saying shit." So this character had to scramble and change the script real quick.
This
Nick
character
Cage isn't
going to
talk, guys. Why? I don't know. He's officially stopped talking. He said, I think it'd be better if I didn't say a word, and then he walked off.
And he hasn't said a word in real life since he said that. That's how method this motherfucker
is.
As
fuck. I want to see Pig. I need to see Pig. That looks good. Looks really good.
I need to see that. It's supposed to be really awesome.
Yeah.
You know, when Josh and I talked about that movie, Willy's Wonderland, I kept wondering if he was like, I wanted like some like crazy explanation why he had to stop and like with his watch and his every hour or whatever. I wanted something like
Those were some
He had to-
fizzy drinks, weren't they?
Yeah.
Did you ever
yeah,
notice? Did you notice that? Like every time he
Yeah.
popped it, it was fizzy as fuck.
I wanted it to be like Crank, basically, where like he had to keep his adrenaline up to survive. There was something in those cans of pop that Nick Cage had to have,
Yeah.
or he was gonna die.
I think
And
it was just great. Like he's getting ready to duke it out, and then all of a sudden his fucking watch goes off, and he hands her the weapon and walks off. I was like, "Are you serious right now?" Yeah, that movie was bonkers in all the right ways for me.
Oh, dude, it's crazy. Yeah, I really did enjoy it. Just Nick Cage being incredible.
Nick Cage being Nick Cage, man. I'm telling you, we're going to find out one day that he actually forced a rewrite by saying, I'm not saying a word.
He's like,
and
this
I'm here
dialogue.
for it. I'm here for it.
After those teenagers, man, that dialogue couldn't have been good. So, like
Probably not.
This dialogue is dog shit. This character no longer speaks. Nope, never.
Yeah,
never.
I'm not saying that. He
Fuck
probably
that
read
shit.
something. He was like,
Yeah.
I'm not saying that.
And
I'm not saying any of this, but I'll do
scream-
all that.
I learned my lesson from the bees. Not the bees. Not the bees.
Yeah, that
Dude,
was pretty awful. God, that remake was so bad.
I recently just watched that when I went on So Horrified, and it was
God,
that wasn't even part of the fucking the theater cut, which is hysterical for how often does a movie have its most famous scene and it's not even in the normal cut of the fucking movie.
It's weird. Well, they made the right decision removing it for sure.
No, they didn't. No, they didn't.
No, they didn't. That would have made the movie better.
You're sitting there going, it's like that's why I said, so it's the most memorable thing about that shithole of a movie. And if you have that, you maybe start the because that movie now is literally up there with like Trolls 2 and level of like
sure.
people are so obsessed
absolutely.
with that. And that's why I love The Fanatic so much. Which if you haven't watched it yet,
I haven't watched it yet.
Dude,
watch it.
I've talked to you about that movie for years at this point. I feel like that movie is so horrible, but holy fuck, the whole time you're like, it's like watching a car crash. You're like, none of this is done well, but holy fuck, I'm laughing my balls off at it.
I know that after that, Fred Durst returned to music. Because he's going on tour now.
Dude, he looks like a hipster from Brooklyn, aged 40 years overnight, and is walking around with
Fred
this weird
Durst with hair is weird as fuck. His whole career, he never had hair, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere.
Wasn't it? That's because he always had a fucking red hat or baseball hat on his head.
I met him when I met him in, I want to say it was 98, 99, Family Values Tour. I met him and Aaron Lewis.
Yeah.
And it might have been 2000. I can't remember. But he just shaved his head. He just had his head shaved. So of course you're right. He was always wearing a backwards cap. It's possible that he had hair, but when I met him, he had shaved his head. So I don't know. Maybe. Yeah. I'm pretty sure he had. Yeah. So that was a long time ago.
Fred Durst has not aged as well as Barbara Crampton.
No, not many people have.
Dude,
she's still a damn dime, yo.
I'm so glad she's getting this she's just doing so much horror.
Yeah, it's like a real cool renaissance in her career,
Yeah.
Okay.
I was kind of amazed though. I was kind of surprised she wasn't naked in this movie. I'm like
well,
I thought Barbara Crampton
shows a titty.
Yeah, she does.
She shows a titty.
She does. But wasn't Barbara Crampton's thing? She was always full nude for
seemed
must
like
be
it, yeah.
Must be nude for 3/4 of filming. I almost wonder if she's a nudist. Also, when we talked, what I was gonna say earlier when we started talking about this movie, again, Jacob's Wife from 2020. Is it 2021? Yeah, it's actually 2021. Yeah. That I was kind of surprised that this movie wasn't directed by a woman. You see a woman and two men who wrote it. This movie's message feels very much like a woman trying to get a point across about how the equality in relationships and how you get power. Because I feel like this is a very I mean, this movie's goofball, right? Like it's goofball with the gore is like. This movie was way more like kind of slapsticky the second half than the first half.
A little bit, a little bit.
But it feels like it's trying to tell like a story or a message at the same time, which is cool on top of everything else that that vampire movies are so there aren't that many of them anymore because it's so hard. I mean, there are many of them, but there aren't that many like notable ones because they're usually pretty generic vampire movies, right?
Yeah, I think that there was probably one too many underworld movies that came out, and I think the genre did kind of get a little stale. But movies like this, when they come out, because I love this movie, I think it's fantastic.
Yeah.
When they do it right, you know what I mean. There's still a lot of life in the vampire genre for sure.
Well, there's been some cool ones on Shudder lately because like The Shack was okay. I think The Shack.
I thought The Shack was pretty good. It was definitely not amazing by any means, but I thought it was solid. You know, it was a solid movie.
They've had that. They had The Boys from, what was that fucking movie called? The Boys from what county? Which was the Irish vampire movie.
Oh, I know what you're talking about, but I haven't watched it yet. I need to.
That was entertaining as hell because the Irish humor comes across, and it was another interesting take on vampire lore, and that's kind of what I like when you do something completely crazy. Like, I go back and I look at I still think 30 Days a Night might have the best concept of a vampire movie ever. Because of the them coming to this town where they can't die for 30 days. That's fucking a cool concept, right?
Yeah.
And they don't have enough because it's some middle buttfuck nowhere Alaska town. Like you have not too many people. See, the premise is perfect. And I know how much you and Andy obviously love Lost Boys and
yeah.
all that Fright Night and all the great 80s horror
there's
vampires.
Some good ones too that we haven't even talked about. I want to talk about Vamp one of these days. It's pretty cool movie.
I don't know if I've seen that one.
Oh man, it's got Grace Jones in it, playa. Grace Jones plays a vampire in it. There's also Near Dark we had to reschedule, but now that that's on Shudder, I think me and Andy might have to do it. Discussion on that. Have you watched Near Dark yet? Catherine Bigelow?
I have. That movie, I don't like that movie nearly as much as
Near Dark? My Lord. I think it's wonderful.
That movie feels like an art house movie to me almost. Like it's this weird they were trying to take the things because that movie came out after Lost Boys, didn't it?
Yeah, I think it came out the same year.
It feels very much like romanticizing all that even more than in a weird grimy way, but it just that movie just strange to me, and maybe I need to watch it again. I think I've only seen it once.
Oh man,
and I watched
love it. I'm a fan.
The fucking cast of that movie is fucking fantastic.
Lance Henriksen and Bill Paxton. Yeah,
it's alien. You have aliens, just the best parts of Aliens, just kicking ass. Besides, you need Sigourney, but. Yeah. So I liked it. Don't get me wrong. I think it was one of those movies I got preached to being this almighty power of vampire movies for so long, and then I finally watched it, and I'm just like, this is good, but I'd rather watch Lost Boys or fucking Fright Night any day of the week.
That's fair, honestly.
Yeah. I like if you're gonna do vampires, I like if you go balls with the wall. It's why I like a lot of the stuff they did with the Fright Night remake because that movie's pretty balls to the wall.
Yeah, I love that movie. It was interesting. I watched a pretty cool YouTube channel. I can't remember the name of it, but it was doing a side-by-side comparison, breaking down both movies. And in many ways, the Fright Night remake is almost a superior film. It really actually almost is.
I think that
it's really interesting to watch and listen to people defend the remake, while not tearing down the original, because the original is a classic for a reason. It's a fantastic movie. It's wonderful.
I I think originality is just like that much of a like. It just means so much, but like it's another thing where I. It probably also means like if to you see the new version of Fright Night first and then the original, I could see you being like preferring the remake.
Probably.
And it's kind of like I think I saw the original. I saw the remake of Texas, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre before I saw the original.
Oh,
I
wow.
did for sure.
Yeah.
There was a big gap in there even, and I probably prefer the remake over the original, even though I know the original is a better movie. I think that can mean a lot in like, dude. Look at those little chuckleheads on We Came From Beneath the Sea that a bunch of those guys, I swear to God, they were talking about liking the original or the remake better than the original, like for Friday the 13th, like the remake.
Oh yeah, I think some of those guys do, yeah.
And so stuff like that. I know how much Josh appreciates the cold opener on Friday the 13th.
That's one of the best sequences in the franchise, really.
Yeah,
that cold open is savage. The rest of the movie, not so much, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But the problem with the remake, or with that remake, and is the characters are just shitty. They don't feel. They don't feel like they belong together, and that was kind of pointed out by somebody else. I just talked with Vincent DeSanti, and he pointed out, he made a good mention of that, and he's like the characters just don't even feel like they don't belong together, and I was like, God, I never really thought about that, and that's a big part of why I have issues with the 2009 reboot. It just doesn't feel. And I didn't know what it was about it, but I always said it just doesn't feel like a Friday the 13th movie, and it doesn't. Yeah. And then when he pointed some of that stuff out, I was like, oh, that's why. Yeah, you're right. That's why it justified me having issues with it, you know.
But
if you like that movie, that's great. I mean, shit. Yeah. I love it. I love it when people like movies.
I think the weirdest thing, and I think you guys pointed it out for the first time I heard it, or Andy did, it was that they never used the
oh yeah, the Kiki Mamamas, yeah. They never use the Kiki Mama.
How do you get to a Friday the 13th? Isn't that like part of the joy of making a Friday the 13th movie? You get to do
Harry Manfredini music, man. The Kiki Mama.
And like
even Ice Nine Kills use Kiki Mama and Jason's mom and their Friday the 13th song.
Dude, I love them so much.
I love that band so much, yeah. Thank you. You're one of the ones that introduced me to that band. So,
yeah. The Assault and Battery song that they just put out with
so
like
fun.
Dude, them running around on their knees in like Chucky costumes are just fucking hysterical.
Yeah.
But yeah, that I can't wait for their new album either. But yeah, so
we should probably talk about Jacob's wife a little bit.
We could. I mean, ADHD. It's funny. We started vampires, and how the fuck we got to where we did.
I don't know.
It's a journey, dude. It's a fucking journey. So I'm gonna read the IMDb synopsis because Josh isn't here to screw it up and make me laugh while he does it. And it reads as Anne, married to a small town minister, feels her life has been shrinking over the past 30 years. Encountering the master brings her to a new sense of power and an appetite to live bolder. However, the changes come with a heavy body count.
There you go.
This movie is like, it's a fucking blast. And I can tell why this is one of those movies that you like I've been hearing off and on about for like a couple months, right? It feels like this movie's been like before it got even on Shudder. I think people were talking about this movie a lot, and
I actually bought it. I was tired of waiting for it to get to Shudder. And it was cheap on Vudu. I think I paid $9 for it. So I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just gonna buy this movie because I actually own Girl on Third Floor as well.
Yeah,
I bought that because it was on sale for like $3.99 or some shit, and I was like, oh, it's on sale. Fuck it, I'll buy it. I've been wanting to watch it anyway. But yeah, I'm glad I did because I did. I was just like, I'm tired of waiting for. I know it's going to Shudder eventually, but I want to fucking watch it. So I just went ahead and bought it, and I'm glad I did.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those movies where we watched Psycho Gorman before Shudder got it, and I'm like, man, this movie is going to be a riot when Shudder gets it. I mean, we talk about Shudder so much, but Shudder's just like, he gets these cool little, yeah. I don't know how you don't have it.
Yeah, and it's cheap too. It's like what, $40 a year or some shit like that.
It's like I pay like $5.90 something a month or $99 a month.
See, I pay mine annually. I think it's like $43.99 or some shit. I
probably should. It makes more sense that way. But I'm Rod, so here we are. So yeah. So this is directed by Travis Stevens, like you were saying. He did The Girl on the Third Floor, which is a weird ghost house movie we talked about. It's very, very creepy. But CM Punk is just a giant douche in it. And man, I was messaging you when I'm watching this, and I'm like, man, Barbara Crampton still looks fucking amazing. She's 62, will be 63 in December. Her birthday's December 28th, as I saw when I was looking this up, because I was trying to figure out how she looks fucking amazing.
She does. She looks great in person too, because I met her at Texas Frightmare a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
She's super tiny, and I was like, God dang, she's still fucking gorgeous. Yeah. So I did when I went to meet her. I get the autograph. I was like, how did I say? I said, you look. I said, you look lovely. And she said, you do too. And I was like, hell yes. Thank you, Barbara Crampton. She said, I look lovely. So
she's man, she looks about 45. So she looks way younger than she is. You could what I love about her, she lets herself be shot in where you can kind of tell where she's older, right? She doesn't care she seems to be proud of how she looks at her age, and that's fucking awesome because she's funny.
God, her Instagram is one of the most funny, coolest shit to follow, because she's just a genuinely cool, good person. You can tell. And my favorite thing about her is that when she takes a selfie, she always smiles real big with her mouth open. She's always like, ah! She takes selfies the way I do. It's like, ah!
I always laugh. At your the goofy way you do that with all your you ran into people at cons, and I was like, I don't know what Bryan's doing here that makes me giggle a little bit, but it definitely happens. So
I am pleased.
I would say this movie, I was talking about earlier, has a very this message that I think is important these days because of that woman. We've really transitioned in the last 50 years plus or whatever about what women's relationship with what means to them, and women in the workplace, that as long as they've been, but what it means in relationships, right? And this movie has that real prevalent message of women not being subservient to men. Right. So
it's pretty awesome, because you're right. At the end of the day, this she's not being appreciated at all by her husband, who's this big Baptist pastor,
minister,
Baptist
minister, pastor, whatever the fuck he is.
While he loves her, he doesn't show her at all. He doesn't show her. He doesn't appreciate her like he should, but he preaches about it. You know what I mean? It's kind of interesting, and it's dude, you're not even practicing what you preach.
Yeah, it's. I mean, Bryan, you know this, and as you've been married twice, I've been married 15 years. Marriages are not.
It's work.
It's work. You can't the human tendency for things like complacency are very strong, and that's kind of what this feels like. This guy is just complacent at home, and complacent because it kind of seems like he married someone to take care of him.
Yeah.
Is what it
Yeah,
kinda,
very much so. He gets up and he's like flabbergasted that breakfast wasn't ready. He was just like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? And he wasn't mad at her. He was just like, okay. Like, he was lost. Like, he's like, I guess I'll get something on the way to work. like like it was new to him. He wasn't mad, but he was just surprised. Like, I don't even know how to exist now. Like, where do I go from here?
I don't know how to get breakfast.
Yeah, exactly. Like, bro, make fucking food, man. So yeah, it's a pretty cool movie. Watching their dynamic change as she changes is one of the funniest things to watch in this movie, because she starts to feel a sense of power. She starts to feel a sense of power that's that she'd never experienced before, and she likes it.
Yeah, she has one of the opening. We're not gonna spoil anything too hard here, but for now at least, the reasons why some of the situations in the movie happen are because an old boyfriend of Barbara Crampton's character, her character's name is Ann Fetter, but her old boyfriend from high school or something comes back into town and is like doing this revitalization project for this, like, it just seems like a podunk middle of nowhere town. Yeah,
but it's like you're right. He's willing apparently to invest and like reopen a mill or something. Yeah, and it'll create jobs in the town, and it'll spark life into it and everything like that. Yeah. So she's clearly like she's part of like the city council or something like that too.
Yeah.
So,
dude, I don't know about you, but this movie feels like it felt like a 70s horror movie for a long time, and it was one of those. Is this another new horror movie like taking place in the mid 80s? You know, like that's because Josh and I talked about it last week. It kind of like cell phones ruin horror, right? They ruin horror, which is why it's such a. It's like, especially nowadays, like you have all these horror movies going back to this time frame, but this movie, I think, is pretty modern, but the reason why I wondered for so much of the movie is because they drive this like big boat from about 1984.
Yeah,
like,
do.
see, you're like, either these motherfuckers are cheap as hell. I mean, he's a pastor, or this movie takes place in 1985, and
he's cheap because.
Yeah, because you see like a GPS later on in the movie.
The thing is, and I'm not a super religious person, but I did go to church for a long time. You kind of, as a pastor, you make what the people donate, and there's not a lot of people in that town, so like, he can't go out to get like a nice new guy. He's got to buy the hoopty on the lemon lot. You know,
dude.
So
that you talk about that, and it makes sense when like the Anne wants to go out to eat early on in the movie, and he's like, what? Like, he's all like, and dude, you see how much of a fucking panic attack this motherfucker has when she orders a plate of food, doesn't fucking touch it, and he's like, I'll take a to-go box, and she's like, no, I'm done. And he's like,
yeah, he's like, you didn't even eat anything.
Panicking. Like,
that's the dad in him. Well, I don't think they have kids. I can't remember.
They didn't mention kids.
I mean, there's none in the movie for sure, but that would have been me, because I'm a dad, and every time I see my kids waste food, I'm just like, excuse me.
Yeah, dude. My wife will she was eating ribs the other day and doesn't eat ribs very often, and knocked them. But she knocked the meat off with like a knife and fork, and I'm like, that's way better than, those motherfuckers on, like, you see pictures of them like online, and it's like they had chicken wings and like they nibbled the skin off and barely ate the meat, and they're like, okay, I'm done with this, and like,
oh, what the hell?
What kind of household did you grow up in, motherfucker? My dad would have whooped my ass for that, man.
100%,
like,
yeah.
Wasting meat. That's
funny.
It's that. I think you and I both grew up in not exactly poor situations, but we're not
we weren't
extravagantly wealthy either. And that's the kind of.
My dad was very much a upper middle class guy. You know, I didn't have I didn't get nice expensive shoes bought for me until I was a senior. My dad out of nowhere bought the new Reebok Shaq pumps that had the CO2 pump thing that came with it.
I had a pair of those at one point.
Yeah. Out of nowhere, my dad bought those for me for my senior year, and I was like, these are really expensive shoes. But then I quickly did the math. Like, my two sisters were gone because they were older than me. They had both moved out, so he had all this extra money, and he just spoiled me. It was funny because my sisters hate it because they're like, my dad and mom, they bought me a TV and a VCR and shit. And my sisters didn't get shit like that, but then but I got all that stuff when they were gone, and it was just like, oh well, we got a little bit of extra money. Well, what do we got to do to get rid of Bryan? Let's just buy him a VCR so he stays in his room all the time. And that's what I did. I just stayed in my room and watched horror movies all the time. I don't know how we got into this conversation, but
I mean, this is again, dude. We are where we are. Fuck, I had a response to that too, and I was thinking about Bryan's parents having sex, and then then here I am.
Okay, so shit just really sideways.
I was just thinking of why they wanted to occupy you with the TV and VCR.
Oh, because so they could get their shawarma on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's funny.
Man, I have to say, there's another horror news of recent. They're remaking Salem's Lot. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, man, I saw that, and I mean that's a good segue because
vampires are very
the vampires
Salem's
are
Lot,
very similar, because the Master is very much designed after that old school Nosferatu look that they have in Salem's Lot as well. But yeah, they're remaking that, and they cast. There's people in it. There's people cast already and everything.
Yeah, I heard that.
The kid, Bill Pullman's son, plays the author character.
I've never seen it. I only know it was one of the TV movies ones that Stephen King did pretty early on. I think.
You've never seen Salem's Lot? Oh, watch it. It's a blast. It's a fucking blast, man. It's Tobe Hooper, baby.
Oh yeah,
Tobe Hooper made that, man.
Was that a TV movie?
It was. It was like a miniseries event. The reason we even had the It miniseries and the Stand By Me the Stand miniseries was because of the success of Salem's Lot.
Yeah,
for sure. That's not an actual quote, but I'm gonna assume that's why, because Salem's Lot, when it dropped, was huge. Like, people went crazy for it. Much so that they made a shitty sequel.
Yeah,
that Return to Salem's Lot. That's not nearly as good. So,
yeah,
but yeah, we got the Stand, and then it probably because of how successful Salem's Lot was. It was huge when it came out.
You're talking about those, and it made me think about Brandon Tenold, who has the awesome YouTube channel. He did a video about one of the Children of the Corn sequels, which there are. I didn't know how many Children of the Corn sequels there are, but there are 15 Children of the Corn.
None of them are good.
Yeah, it's all direct-to-DVD stuff or direct-to-VHS back in the day. And you're like, holy, it's... I don't think...
Those are you know what those remind me of? Those are so bad, they literally remind me of those witchcraft movies.
You mean Andy starring movies?
Yeah, Andy played in number 12. I don't think they're done. I think they're... Yeah, Andy had a small role in number 12. I think he played a cop, and I haven't seen it yet. I need to find it so I can watch it. But
that was
those Children of the Corn sequels are every bit as bad. They are every bit. And to be fair, the first one, honestly, not even that great.
It's okay.
It's okay. It's a good movie. It's not a bad movie by any means, but it's not amazing.
I would rather watch the South Park Children of the Corn any day of the week, where I don't know. If you've never seen it and you're listening to this, basically all the kids figure out if they say that their parents molested them, they could get all their parents sent to jails.
Yeah,
and then they just run this town and are just there's two sides, and they sacrifice kids to a fucking god, just like Children of the Corn.
Yep.
And that's a man.
That's
Yeah.
a funny episode.
Yeah. I swear to God, South Park, like I'll say this, I've said it before, I'll say it again. I still think the Human Centipede episode of South Park is
Yeah.
more horrifying than the Human Centipede movie and actually grosser, which I don't know how they managed to do, but they did. Yeah. So this movie, I think,
Real quick though, you heard about the deal that Seth Parker and Matt Stone signed, right? Did you hear about this?
like $1 billion.
Yeah,
and they're
$900 million deal with CBS to keep making shows through 2027, and apparently 14 original South Park movies. 14 movies.
I don't think it's. It kind of feels like what they're doing now, anyways. Like they're doing these. The South Park show isn't a long running. They just make episodes about very specific things they want to talk about now. Like they've had the pandemic special, and then they had the vaccination special, and like that's the last two things they've done with the show that are very like. I think they had like that one episode about like the the Randy Savage like competing in the women's Olympics episode that they put out, like that. I think that was just like by itself basically because they wanted to do that episode, like that all that stuff is just like they just seem to do what they want when they want at this point. So I mean, when you've been doing it for 25 years like those two dudes have, so it just,
golly, that's crazy to think of that. South Park's that old. I remember when it first came out. Yeah.
Me too,
okay,
man.
but anywho, here we are,
man.
I swear we are talking about Jacob's wife, right?
we are.
I promise.
I think we are. No, I love the looks of this vampire. I have to say
fantastic.
though, I wonder. I was looking at the master at the end of the movie, and again, we're not ruining anything yet. But I was trying to figure out if they were trying to tell this story that this vampire had been like burnt, or is just so like, was it the makeup was bad, or was this vampire supposed to look ancient? Like,
I think it's
or
a
had been
little bit of. It's probably a little of both, honestly. But I think they're supposed to be really old.
Yeah, and by bad I don't mean. If you see this movie and you see what the vampire looks like at the couple scenes you get to see it, you'll know what I mean, because the skin's very cracked, and it could be badly done makeup. I don't think that's the case. I think that they're just trying to make this distinct, ancient looking, or like this vampire had been burned in the sun or something like that, and this was what happened. Like it didn't kill it, but. I have to say that one of the funnier scenes in this movie was when she goes to the dentist and they put the UV clean her teeth, and my wife's like, is she gonna get burned? I'm like, I assume so. And then her face just like her whole bottom half of her face catches on fire basically. You're like, it's one of those scenes where it's like it kind of reminds me of the Final Destination movie where like you think that kid's gonna get killed in the dentist for like a half an hour and then just get squished by a pane of glass instead. But it was weird because I was sitting there during this movie and I'm like, it kind of got set up as a horror comedy, and the first third of this movie at least is very, they take making a vampire in the situation like very seriously, the situation between the husband and the wife specifically. The most of the comedy of this movie actually comes as like, it's like over the top violence, being
a little bit
like kind of like Looney Tunes or Itchy and Scratchy is probably a better like explanation, right? Where it's like, or even things like Kill Bill, right? Where they chop that head off and like you just, it's that over the splatterhouse stuff, especially Japanese films, right? And that's where Kill Bill was like.
Oh yeah, heavily inspired.
Yeah, but the violence in this is like the first head that gets pulled off in this movie, and you're like, holy shit! There's a lot of fucking blood. It's very over the top like that, and it kind of ends up being where I was laughing at a lot of this. That and when towards the end of the movie where someone's getting eaten and he's he's stabbing behind him with that knife and just completely like missing. You're like, that made me laugh. I was like, that's pretty funny.
The smoking sequence, I laughed pretty good too when they're smoking bud, him and his wife, because he confiscated it from that kid out front of the church.
Yeah.
Why? His wife starts smoking bud. I started laughing. I was like, "This is pretty funny."
Yeah, it was like almost like a weed commercial. It was like, man, you feel like shit. Man, why don't you like light up this joint, man? You're gonna feel like life flowing through your fingers and shit, man. It was like kind of like what was like being sold there as the whatever.
Well, because she was hurting because she was of the hunger,
Yeah, it's the thing that I do approve of in these movies is when they don't do it. They just stick to the rules, right? They kind of don't like change anything too badly. Like they did little cool things in this movie though that were a little bit different. Like when she goes to the dentist and the dentist is like, "You're growing in new teeth."
Oh yeah.
So like that, especially because the vampires in this movie have the weird, like we talked about, the Salem's Lot. It's like vampire, like bunny rabbits or something.
Yeah,
like
it's
that.
like their front two, their front two middle teeth on the top, the big ones. Yeah, those are the fangs. Funny story. Well, not so funny story for the guy that experienced this, but I had a friend coworker years ago. This was before I started where I'm at now. So this is a long time ago, probably 10 or 12 years ago. Well, he was a friend coworker of mine, and he had started going to the dentist because he was like, got health care finally because this is like his first real job. He was like, man, I need to go to the dentist, and he's trying to take care of himself. Very commendable, obviously. Goes to the dentist and comes back like a couple days later after the weekend and everything, and he has this horrifying story to tell me. And I said, what's going on? He's like, man, I went to the dentist and I'm growing a whole new set of teeth. And it fucking happens. Well, this is an adult person.
Yeah.
He went to get his wisdom teeth removed, and they found that his fucking teeth were growing in like Pez in a Pez dispenser. All right, so there's just one after another. No, it wasn't quite that bad, obviously. But he said, well, I'm growing a whole new set of adult teeth. And I said, really? He's like, yeah, this happens in like less than 1% of the fucking population. And then the son of a bitch showed me. Because you could see them growing in. He pulled his cheek back, and it was nightmare fuel, homie. It was nightmare because he showed me, and he pulled back his teeth, and like the top above his back, backward, like middle teeth, not quite the molars or what they're called, but like that middle section. You could fucking see the goddamn teeth growing in and trying to push his adult teeth out of his adult head.
That's like, he's like a shark.
Yes.
He's a fucking shark.
Horrifying. Yeah. The silver lining in all of this is that he's gotten it all taken care of. Okay? It's all taken care of. Required multiple surgeries. He didn't have to pay a dime. Because it was so rare that they did a case study on it and filmed the whole thing. And apparently you can watch it on YouTube now. Not that I ever would.
I'm good.
I don't know what it's called. I can't remember. But yeah, they did a case study on it, and it paid for the whole. He didn't have to pay a dime, and he had multiple surgeries.
Oh man!
How horrifying. So for her to casually say, hey, you got some new teeth growing in. She said it very casual. That shit that actually happens, that's like, we need to have a talk. You have some new teeth growing. Like, that's how the conversation probably really would have went.
So I got a game plan. We're going to put you in this little cage, and we're going to town, and we're going to sell pictures with you for $20 a pop. That's what we're going to do. That's how fucking rare this shit is.
That's very rare. Yes,
you
very
weirdo.
Rare.
Man, that's fucking crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
I thought of my boy Mikey right when I saw that. I was like, "Oh shit, Mikey!" I was like,
Well,
"This is gonna
they
end
did-
differently for her, though."
Yeah, well, they don't. Like, you briefly get them, and they look kind of sharp, and they're like growing in the back of her, like the back where, like, kind of where wisdom teeth would be, right?
Yeah,
That kind
I
of
think
area.
so, yeah.
And yeah, but then all of a sudden the sharp teeth in the front start growing. But man, there is really a lot to like. This is it's one of the reasons I really, really like indie horror, and I don't know how often Hollywood horror can compete with indie horror, just because of you need like the masters, like, like Peele and all the Hereditary guy and all that stuff, that know how to like focus, because these like little horror movies like this that are they don't have resources, so they have to have these very tight, like precise stories and scripts, and they do such a good job with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
it's one of those.
This is done really well. This movie's done really well.
Yeah,
I like
the vampires are cool. There's violence. It's funny. Like I said, it gets way funnier in the second half, because it's,
I agree. The dynamic with the movie does pick up after she really starts feeling herself.
Yeah.
Like when she's like picking up everything in the living room and moving it around. It's like weightless and shit. Because that starts to how she starts to feel about herself changes. And she starts to have a lot more. She starts to get more vocal in the relationship.
Yeah.
And,
it's like I'm not the background anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like he gets, he starts to get upset, because he starts to assume that she's having an affair with her ex-boyfriend from high school, who is a much better looking guy.
Yep. But Jacob is he's not a model.
No, he's a good looking dude, but but let's face it, he ain't Tom. Because the guy's name's Tom Lowe. Yeah. As hey, Larry Fessenden is not an ugly guy by any means.
No.
But he ain't Robert Ressler.
No, he's not.
I don't know.
Not.
I guess that's the way to say it. But yeah, this movie starts to get really funny when their dynamic changes.
Yeah.
He starts to not like it, obviously, but because he was the super dominant person in this relationship, and she was just kind of there, and he didn't really appreciate her as like he should.
Well, yeah, you get like to the point where you're like, this. She says it. You've never had to fight for me,
right?
And you start going, and it's so what you get from her fairly early on is that her parents died, and this boyfriend left her college or whatever he left for,
right?
And basically, she had no one else in the world besides Jacob.
But yeah,
so
Jacob, he was there. Yeah, exactly. Yep.
But man, you start wondering, like, situations like that. It's like, how easily do you let yourself? I mean, human beings aren't. I mean, like, I don't know. Humans can be very, just they're in their situation, and that's it. Like, there's no. They just
complacent. You mean
complacent? Yeah, is the word I'm looking for. Yeah. And how how much of your life can you live in complacency is really what I was saying.
Yeah, exactly.
And man, that's why I do all the content and stuff I do now, because I'm like, I'm gonna do stuff that I'm enjoying and trying not to be complacent and all that stuff. Right. It's because it's so easy to come.
That's why me and my wife bought the business when we did. You know that. You remember when that happened?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why because we wanted more. And we don't want to be complacent just to stay in this little town that we live in. I mean, it's not like I have a good job. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I have a really, really good job for a blue collar dude.
Yeah.
But we wanted more, and so it's I mean. How much of it do you? You're right. How much do you want to live in complacency? Well, I don't think anybody should want. Everybody should want to strive for more.
Yeah.
yeah, there's obviously you get to a point where you just absolutely can't achieve more, and hopefully you're happy with the journey and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's this like the thing that seems to be like is this character let herself get lost in that, let herself get lost in her marriage, let herself get lost in whatever, because the boyfriend had said, like the ex-boyfriend had said, I thought you were going to be like traveling the world and you wanted to go live here and this like that, and she never did any of it. And so I think there's also a message in there of you never know how long you have, right?
Never settle for less.
Never settle
Never
for
settle
less.
for less. Man.
Now something I feel like we're selling an infomercial, some bullshit. They're like,
we need
and
the
you
ShamWow guy in here to like.
Yeah. No, we can't get him.
He'd start beating us up. Yeah, you're.
He's gonna start biting hookers and stuff like that. Whatever he did. God. That's what he did, right?
I think she bit him and he punched her. I think she bit him, and then he like punched shit out of her or something. I don't know.
Oh,
it wasn't a good look either way.
I mean, you've never seen any more ShamWow ads with that guy.
Not with that guy. Yeah, no, not at all.
Man, it is. It just. Yeah.
But yeah, there's definitely a message about it's definitely a feminist movie. You know what I mean? There's definitely a feminist movie because she's starts off being the super submissive person and just kind of doing everything for him, and shit like that, and they weren't on an equal playing field at all, and that's so she starts to realize that, and he honestly starts to realize it too. Yeah, she becomes more vocal, and she and it helps show him his faults and his flaws, and how he didn't appreciate her the way he should have, and she made a real you never fought for me, and then in the movie he gives up super early, like super early, and he tries to blame her. Tries to blame her for it, but then he starts to realize like, I'm kind of a shitbag, ain't I?
But well, that carries out through the whole thing because I'm gonna spoil the ending now. So if you're enjoying and don't want to hear, when he fucking stakes the leader, she goes, "That wasn't your choice," and you start to go, "Oh man, you know that this isn't gonna go well at this point," and the movie ends off with what you presume is these two attacking each other.
Most likely, yeah.
And because he thinks that you start going, is this another? He wants to retake the power in the position in their relationship by staking her, and she wants to keep up her spot in the relationship by eating him.
Yeah, they got some shit to work out.
They do.
They definitely have some shit to work out, but I like the open-endedness of the movie. I like that. I like the way they did that. So.
Well, the cop a cop had experienced a bunch of this towards like the second half of this movie, and before CM Punk gets murdered, killed.
I thought he lived. Didn't he live?
Oh, didn't he? Oh, who was the stabby person? That was
that was the neighbor, wasn't it? Or their friend?
Oh,
yeah.
That was their friend. That was
their friend.
Yeah.
Now, CM Punk and both of the cops live.
Yeah.
In this, surprisingly enough, because I didn't think that was going to go like that.
Well, they weren't going to. You thought they were going to get.
I thought they were going to get shit on.
Yeah, the master was setting up I'm going to eat everyone. Man, I also wonder like that.
By the way, we haven't mentioned the fact that Bonnie Aarons that played the master, and she played the fucking nun in the Conjuring movies.
I'm sitting there and I was like, it took me forever to realize that was a woman because it has the bald. Again, we go back to the Nosferatu vampire. It's that like you can't really tell until she speaks at the end.
Right, yeah. I love the fact that Bonnie Aarons played the master in this. She's super cool too. I met her at Casey Crypticon. She's really cool.
She has real unique features, right? Which is why she works
she really does. Yeah.
Yeah, and
she's really pretty. She's like really pretty lady. Yeah.
Well, dude, man, you take what most of the supermodels look like outside of their super like, their makeup with all that stuff, and you take the. It's funny how their features are so symmetrical, which is why they become. But like they look kind of odd to plain old schmucks like you and I, because they're like they're like so too perfect, right?
Plain
like it's
old
what it
schmucks.
is. Yeah. Plain old schmucks like me and Bryan. I mean, Bryan and I both got way older in the last week, so I mean,
yeah, we did, didn't we?
we're old people.
Yeah.
Old people. All my friends have end of August birthdays. I feel like.
Yeah.
I don't know how that happens, but yeah, man. I was gonna say like before that this movie does like pretty much follow like typical vampire lore. Stakes kill vampires.
Yep.
Sunlight kills vampires. They don't. I don't know what the rat thing is. Is that from Salem's Lot, the rat controlling kind of thing?
I feel like there's some vampire lore that does grant them the ability to shapeshift into things, but that doesn't explain the rats. I guess that I'm gonna assume that there's all the vampire movies I've seen, some vampires do have a animalistic kind of control, over things like certain like smaller beasts or things like
and like wolves and shit like that
is
is a lot. Yeah.
So that's probably where that stems from. I do like it aesthetically though, when those fucking rats just pile on the dude.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god, I thought it was dope. I do like rats. In the movie. That was pretty cool. Really cool touch.
Yeah. It was like I was just trying to think of what was super distinct, and that was like one. It's the rat control. The look is very not something that happens very often with vampires. It's like Nosferatu and
I like
and Salem's Lot.
that choice. What We Do in the Shadows also had a really cool Nosferatu style vampire.
Yeah. Colin
Peter. I
Colin's
think
best. I know, but Colin's the best vampire. That's all that matters. I love Colin.
Yeah.
The energy vampire Colin. Because he's the most realistic character. But yeah. So I think those are the ones that are kind of like, kind of unique to what they were doing with this. And it runs the plot, but like, I don't know, like you could have done something pretty similar to this movie without vampires. They just use vampires because they think they fit what the story they wanted to tell, right? It's
probably.
Yeah. I don't think vampires were like necessary, but yeah, you could probably done this with werewolves or something like that if you wanted to.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Not
so much zombies.
No, not zombies. I still have never seen the what is it, Warm Bodies movie.
Oh, you haven't seen that? Oh, that's a cool movie. That's a cool movie.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah.
It's not very often you see vampire or like zombies that are like main characters in movies.
Right. Have you ever
did
played
you
Stubbs the Zombie, the video game?
No,
You've never played Stubbs the Zombie? Oh man,
no.
It's a classic.
I think that's on like Steam or something. I might have to check it out.
If it's on Steam, you should totally buy it. But it's an Xbox game from the very, very first Xbox. I actually still have my copy and everything. I love it.
Did you ever see that weird? Now I'm just talking about weird vampire or zombies. That weird black and white movie that was like, where it would go to black and white, but then the characters were like zombies, but they didn't know it, and like so they would have like two, like black and white was when they didn't know they were zombies and they were running around, and then the color when they were
very
zombies.
Familiar, but I can't think of where I have seen that or seems it's very something. Yeah, that definitely reminds me of something. I don't know.
It's one of those. You know how many of those weird out there movies like you and I have seen that we probably will never remember the name of?
Way too many.
Yeah,
way too many. Golly.
Yeah. Dude, there's a couple on this podcast I'm already like that. Not even because they're bad, just because of the weird. Like, I feel like indie horror can have some really terrible names, like just generic. You know what I mean? So.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, man. Shudder. This is just again, it's another movie that Shudder fucking killed it. Like knocked it out of the park with what they were doing and just doing a cool little movie. Yeah, I would watch the Boys of whatever that county movie that's on Shudder too. And
yeah, I need to see that.
They had some more werewolf movies they've been adding to Shudder too.
Good.
So
bring on all the werewolf movies, man. I need more of them. I like werewolf movies.
I'm
in the minority, I think, but I think the Wolfman remake with Benicio del Toro is honestly a solid movie. I think it's cool.
Yeah.
Have you ever
never
seen
it?
Oh, it's fucking rated R.
Yeah.
It's a rated. We got a rated R fucking werewolf movie with a big budget. And people don't like it. And I'm sorry, but I think it's much better than what people want to say about it. I went to the movie theater to see it.
Yeah.
And,
it was...
It's solid, dude.
I think that movie had also... Yeah.
Hugo
I think that movie...
I'm going to interrupt you every time with a new
I know.
star.
I mean, you are. It's Josh. It's okay. But no, I think a lot of that has to do with that Jack Nicholson movie that came out a couple of whatever years before that.
Wolf?
Yeah.
With Michelle Pfeiffer?
Yeah. Remember how much that movie was like people were trying to upsell how good it was going to be? And then
I have not seen it in many, many years. I do remember kind of liking it, but not because I thought it was fine cinema by any means. Because I think that movie is overly shot, super artsy, and I think it's unnecessary. Yeah. But what I love about that movie is just Jack Nicholson as turning into a fucking wolf because he gets to be all Jack Nicholson-y. Because he's kind of kooky. He's kind of crazy. And then James Spader also was in that movie, too. And let's face it, Michelle Pfeiffer, she's still a dime. So
yeah. Dude, she's a pretty lady.
She's beautiful. She's beautiful.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like Wolf, but not because it's fine cinema by any means. But I do enjoy that movie.
You know, I mean, you got a couple years on me, but like,
I've noticed that when we get together, you say that.
I mean,
whether we're talking about age or not, you son of a bitch, you slide in there.
So let me go with it because why I'm going to say that, and I brought it up because I was going to say the videotapes in the 80s of horror stuff. I was going to say that werewolf movie covers always looked cool back in the 80s. Okay, and that's what I was trying to point.
Yeah. So what you were trying to say was, Bryan, back in your day.
You're not that much older than me, motherfucker.
Yeah, I've only got a few years on you. I know that. But it's just funny. You always be bringing up my fucking age.
Because I like to punch your balls.
So you know, by the way, I'm not in the minority because Wolf does have a 62% on Rotten Tomatoes, believe it or not. The audience is feeling you, though. They're only at 42% on Wolf. So, yeah. I just think it's a little overly artsy for no fucking reason other than I guess the guy just wanted to be classy. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's when you you mix big Hollywood movies with artsy, it can make some weird things come out. Like that Ang Lee Hulk movie is so fucking odd. Like odd.
It's also so awful in my opinion too. I don't think that's a good movie at all.
I don't think so either. Like it is. I walked out of that movie like, what the fuck just happened, man? You're like, why did I go into an art house movie made by what was like the director of like House of like some weird big Chinese movie, right? That got him the lead.
I think it was the Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon movies that got him that. But Ang Lee also happened to make, if memory serves me correctly, he directed Brokeback Mountain too.
Which was after that.
Yeah, it was after that. He also directed Billy Lynn's Long Halftime Walk, which is a much better movie than people want to give it credit. I think I remember a trailer for that movie, and that's about all. And then he made Gemini Man, which is apparently awful. I haven't seen it, though.
Oh, dude, that was with the terrible Will Smith CGI de-aging.
Oh, I thought that in the previews it looked good. I mean, it looked solid. Like, it was just as good as, like, the... de-aging of Samuel L. Jackson for Captain Marvel. Have you seen Captain Marvel?
Yeah, of course. I've seen all the Marvel movies. But I think it wasn't the de-aging itself. I think the CGI, like him moving around was the
okay.
problem.
Oh,
But
okay,
like,
okay.
I heard that was pretty terrible. But I
Yeah,
never saw it.
I haven't seen it. So.
Yeah. Oh, shit.
How did we get here?
Brian.
We
I
do-
don't fucking. I don't know how we got anywhere, but
We do
got
this all
here.
the time too.
Yeah.
It's just a little
Yeah.
worse today, probably.
Probably just a little. Well, I don't know what the fuck we're watching next week because we'll.
Hey, I'll
quote the
gladly
final-
come back on and derail it if you need me
I mean,
to, though, because,
I always approve of that. So.
yeah, I'll come on. Hey, I'll just come on even if Josh is back next week. I'm just gonna show
You'll
up.
be like-
I'm just gonna show up.
you're
Just
gonna
give
be
me a
like-
call when you guys start recording, and I'm just gonna show up.
I'll like add.
What
you
are we
to the
talking
call.
about? All right, I'm gonna get the cliff notes out, and then I'll just. Well, apparently,
bad,
Josh.
Apparently-
this was
apparently-
what people. Oh,
That's funny. Okay. Well, yes. We're gonna say the final girls because I think Josh will be back, but I'm
I'll
not
come on
100
for that
percent sure.
discussion.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll figure it out then. Brian, tell everyone where they can find you.
You can
This
find
shit
me
show.
every Monday on the Dead in Santa Carla podcast. Me and my good friend Andy talk about a horror movie and kind of break it down, or do a little rating, a little review. And Andy interrupts me for about 2 hours, kind of like I did Rod today.
Yeah. They actually talk about the movie though, so
we
call
we
it-
talk
no.
about Jacob's life a whole lot. honestly.
we did. I
But,
mean, there's been a lot like that lately.
Okay, that's okay. Then I don't feel so bad.
Yeah.
But
No.
but yeah,
Yeah.
and we're available on all major podcast platforms, and you can find us on Twitter at Dead and SC Podcast. You can find me on Twitter at Santa Carla Bryan, where I just recently crossed 500 followers. So
We
that was
were-
a, that was
I
a
was-
little bit of a milestone for me.
I was pimping you out. I was
Yeah, I
like,
appreciate it. I saw that. It happened today, day of this recording. I was at
Nice.
497, and then somehow 6 people started following me. So, thank you.
they're all bots.
They're
Bots.
probably all bots. Well, so am I, so it's fine. Because that's why, I mean, I've had a Twitter for like 20 years, and I just now started using it. So I still don't even know what I'm doing. So you can, if you want to follow me on Twitter, basically what you're following is a 44-year-old guy trying to figure out Twitter.
Dude, I feel sold anytime I put anything on TikTok. I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know
downloaded
if I'm-
TikTok last night
Yeah.
and proceeded to die laughing at this guy Gregisms. He's
I don't
funny
know
as
that one.
shit. This funny, wonderful gay guy from New Orleans, and he tells the best fucking stories. I have my wife and I have literally just been dying laughing watching him.
There's a guy I really like on TikTok who has 2 corgis and he talks for him in these incredibly idiotic voices.
I've stumbled across that fellow. Yes.
Yeah, and those videos make me laugh really
Yeah.
hard, really hard. So, thanks again. Yeah, I asked you to do this yesterday, and you jumped right in. It was a blast.
Yeah, man.
I always have a blast. You know that. So.
Oh yeah, I
Yep.
love coming on. I love coming on when Josh is here too, because I love Josh. I think
Josh is
you
good
guys
people.
are great. Yeah, Josh is a super sweet dude. I hope he's doing okay. Didn't even ask you why. You just said, hey, you want to do this talk? And I said, okay, cool.
Yeah, he was. Josh was. I think he got down in the dumps a little bit, and he didn't want to come in and not do a good show. So he kind of
Well, I love you, Josh. So.
Yep. I love you too.
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
God, I don't love him
that
that
was
much.
I was deep throating things.
Yeah.
Josh, I mean, so yeah, follow us on murdermoose.com. All the information is there, and yeah, we'll be back with the Final Girls is the preemptive movie for next week, and if it changes, follow us on Twitter, and I'll let you know. Murder Moose Pod on Twitter. So we'll catch you guys next week. Bye.